Are we live? Yes, we are. But as usual, for the uncountable time, I will wait a little bit for you to show up, and I'll do the usual copy paste operation here into this link. So I'm done. Almost. Yes. And yes, here we are. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for your time, your energy, and your attention to your purpose endeavors. Yes, because that's the basic premise in every single life that I make. It is a purpose driven life, and it is a transmission intended to bring forth the very best in you for the benefit of us all. That's it is. That's the definition of purpose driven anything. And in a purpose driven life, in people and organizations, we really strive to make our own gifts, our own possibilities, our fruits, our harvest, the harvest that life have bestowed on us, our talents, our abilities, our inclinations, interests, passions, everything that make us come ever more alive. Those are the things that the universe, the nature, the society, the community, people around us, family, friends really need for us to share. So I try to facilitate, to ease that process a little bit, or to take that process a little bit further in me and hopefully in you that are watching. And for the benefit of us all, really amounts to understanding ever more deeply and ever more evolved, developed, how we are built, so to speak, how is that singular, unique expression that only us have inside us, beyond the cliches of the personal development world. What really is that this singularity? And welcome one more time, Julieta. What really is this uniqueness that we have? And I've used the metaphor sometimes, and it's the metaphor of the mirror ball. If you think about a mirror ball, that really can convey some sort of the possibilities, multitudes of expression that we humans have. Looking at the mirror ball, you can see many small mirrors, and we as humans have incountable, countless, boundless ways of expressing, of sharing, of conveying ourselves to the benefit not only from our own life, but to the benefit of all lives to be and to come across our own. So, as such, today we'll talk about the hunting, gathering mindset. And yes, it really amounts to some anthropological type of lessons that we as humans have gathered and have investigated and articulated in the form of a story about ourselves, about our own way of living in this planet since the dawn of humanity, of our own birth as a species. And so the hunter-gatherer mindset, or the hunting-gathering mindset, really conveys that primordial sense of being in symbiotic sense with nature. And what did that sense can teach us to the very best of our ability at this time to grasp it and to take it as able to give us lessons that we can put into practice in our day-to-day lives. Yes, because this is not a theoretical, academic type of discussion. This is the quest of bringing into day-to-day life the harvest of the human knowledge, so to speak, and sensing where in that very same harvest that is countless, that is incredibly vast harvest of the civilization that we have, what really makes sense for us to put in practice in our own lives, no matter what type of area that may be. That is the source of that knowledge. So here we are going to talk about the hunter-gathering type of societies. That was the first societies known to us, to the very best of our ability, and in that sense we were mostly nomadic people that banded in tribes, small groups, with no more than some couple of dozens of people, or to the very best of ability, some 100, 100, 200. From this type of gathering come the Dunbar's number notion that beyond 200 people, we humans tend not to personalize or recall, that really amount the same thing. The bonds tend not to be personal as such. So, of course, if we think about our modern world, maybe this notion can be challenged in a sense, or not, because if we look about our, I don't know, maybe our social media connections, if you look about the numbers of it, how many of those people do we really have met in person? And even going beyond that, how many from those people have we created, significant bonds that convey the truth of ourselves? How many? Maybe not so much. Maybe 200 it is a sizable figure to consider the dimensions of really bonding with other human beings. Maybe 200 is a wonderful number to consider as an upper limit for us to have bandwidth in emotional type of bandwidth, in relational perspective, because really it really is a challenge to keep deep, significant relationships with an extended group of people. So that's the first team. The first team is in the hunter-gathering mindset. We were nomadic, and we bonded with a keener set of people that shared our own concerns around livelihood, even if, and that's a big if, because it really is a big if, even if those people are not subject to the same type of interests, passions, inclinations, gift sharing, abilities, and so forth, that really makes the truthful and creative expression of ourselves as humans. And that's a strength indeed, because by the diversification type of perspective and thought that we need to have a different set of those in order for a community to thrive, no matter what size. And of course, the smaller the community, the most the diversity comes to even a greater importance. I believe so. So another rule, or another conclusion, if you like, of this type of understanding about life is that, of course, they didn't go to the supermarket shop. Of course, they didn't have all the apparatus of our civilization. So what did they have? They had kinship, they had stronger bonds, stronger ties, and of course, they had the necessity to walk around to explore. So let's stop for this block of attributes right now, and those can give us a sense of something that really seems to miss in our society, and that later on in last century and 19th century was studied by several people, psychologists, sociologists, anthropologists, mythologists, that is the sense of separation that we feel from our own origins, and the mythologies that and histories, narratives that arise in order to help us get that sense back. And one of those big ideas is the Mircea Eliade, the Romanian mythologist. Mircea Eliade came to the idea of the return, the eternal return. He wrote a book called The Myth of the Eternal Return. I don't know if I have the book right over here. Yes, I have. Ready near me. This is the book. I do not recall if I ever shared the book. Yeah, I believe I have shared the book in another life. The Myth of the Eternal Return is the idea that Mr. Mircea Eliade finds this idea of us needing to return to origins, and what lessons are bonds into that return, and what can we do? What can we do using that idea? And I don't want to digress too much, but the fundamental issues that I want to take into your consideration is the need for you to explore, the need for you to not to stick it to the same type of routines, environments for too long, at least without challenging some preconceptions about those, about really make your part to see those with fresh eyes, with a fresh set of eyes. And this connects with this necessity, I really believe, and this connects with our deep drive today for go beyond our own limits, expressed in ideas such as tourism. For instance, tourism is a sort of commoditization, in my perspective, and not mine also, of course, but it's a commoditization, it's a monetization of the necessity for movement, for exploration of different environments, of changing perspectives. And that's what tourism really can bring us. And let's think, why so many of us people say when going to a vacation, oh my God, I've heard this many times, I can only unplug myself from my day-to-day reality if I go abroad. I don't share from this idea, but I've heard it so many times. I repeat it, I can only unplug myself from day to day if I go abroad. I believe this is the expression of a deep need to unravel new internal territories, to make new explorations, I'm sorry, that's the proper word here. Exploitation is another meaning. And really is what is in question here in this nomadic sense, coupled with the kinship sense, and coupled with having supported leverage in order to build and fulfill our own purpose. This is a really strong need in my perspective. I really personally feel it that way. I really feel the need, and of course I sense that very same need in those other lives that I've seen, and not only clients, of course, but now I'm thinking about a former client that she was very unhappy with her job to the point of feeling or having real sickness coming from that that need to rebel against the things she was making. That was a conclusion from her, supported by the interpretation of what is happening, because she was really somatizing her aversion to her work into several diseases. And I've heard about her some time ago, and I've seen that she was that he changed the role, and looked like she was promoted, but I didn't understand it very well. But looked like that was the intended interpretation, because just by considering the job title, I really wasn't able to understand. But it really get me, maybe in a projective or in an intuitive sense. I really get some sort of tragical sense on it all. Because if it really was a promotion, the question arises, did that promotion help her set free? Or did that promotion made the contrarian effect? Helped keeping her into a more golden cage, with paying her more money for staying into doing something that she doesn't like, because that's the one of the traditional results that happen when people make a good job in terms of externals, and they went talking to the boss, and they are not so sure, what should I do or what should I not do, and then we are in a more troubled context, and the boss, instead of nurturing the desire to the people to release herself or himself, the boss think about the company bottom line results, advantages, seemingly advantages, that he or she as a boss thinks that could happen or stop to happen if they lose the person. Maybe they think of the hassle of hiring another person, and so on and so on and so on. And so they tend to, okay, but I will pay you more this if you stay. And okay, let me think, and then people start thinking. I've seen it many times, sometimes in the past, not many, but sometimes, and then people start to think about it. Okay, with this money I can save some more, I can buy a bigger house, or I can buy a better house, or I can have my own house, depending on the context, or another car, or whatever. And I'm trading, and now the price of change goes up, apparently, at least in cash terms. And so, okay, I'll accept it right now, and then we'll see it. I believe this is many times more than the other way around. It is a mistake, because more responsibilities, more commitment, more energy drained into that very unsustainable path. The opposite can happen, indeed happen, yes, for sure. But still, that's not the most common case in my perspective. And really strikes this argument in the following manner, in my perspective, that really is the opposite of the hunting-gathering mindset that allows us to unravel our exploration abilities that are so much needed in order for the revelations and the insights and the new ways of creating and co-creating life to the very best of our ability, and expressing our deepest essence, our deepest identity come forth. They are jeopardized by that type of let me cash in first and let me discover later, because the later almost every single time comes to be too late. That's my experience. That's personal experience, professional experience, friends experience, family experience. Because that's the modeling of our own society these days. That's the system, the embedded structure that is still built around the materialistic model that thrives on scarcity, and thriving really is a paradox here, of course. But it's a model that sucks life energy from the most productive layers of society, of us people as humans. Yes, they take the youth, the mature youth of us, and squeeze it, not in a conspiracy type of, I really don't buy into it in broader terms, although there are several things that are really strange. But in systemic perspective, I really believe that it's the system that drives this type of behaviors, that is not person A, person C, person D, although there can be some persons that really, and there are, the small majority of persons that benefit from the system being as such. But it really amounts to a system that was built and, of course, taken advantage of by some minorities. But it really is a system that asks, that calls to be understand as such. And if we understand that we don't need colossus type of organizations, not so many at least, why can't we just stay with the more bigger frames in those realms where they are really, really needed, and we understand it very well, beyond buying into the explanation that media, that our peers or family or history, tradition, whatever, wants to say to us. We can use our own heads to think, to understand, to search, to investigate, to learn, to reflect, to ponder onto things. And based on that, shielded and opened at the same time with that understanding, then we can build our better understanding. And so, this hunter-gatherer mindset, it really is an alternative mindset, contrarian if you prefer, to other types of mindsets. And of course, there are already some sources that you can read, that you can find some more flesh, some more awareness about what type of advantages that those societies convey to us. Because there are not only times of misery, because they die much more, they don't have a house, so they wouldn't have medical cares, they didn't have this and didn't have that, and they dreamed on, they bonded, and they were killed by bees, and they take their coal directly into their bodies, and that was a really harsh time for us humans to live. Not quite so. This narrative is being challenged in many instances, and you can look at several books that challenge it. I now, up on the top of my mind, I'm recalling Stone Age Economics is one. I recall another one. The ancient, of course, the Charles Eisenstein books, The Accent of Humanity, Sacred Economics, and then there are other books. Sapiens by Mr. Yuval Harari. It's a bestseller, big hit book that stresses the idea that the transition from hunter and gathering society to agriculture really was some sort of tragedy for the human evolution in terms of independence, exploitation, and other disadvantages of making the nomadic turn into stable agrarian society that was bounded to the land, and from that arose some societies division that made us into labels that we translate as classes, and that class division went forth and forth and forth, and met another turning point at the Industrial Revolution, and is meeting another turning point at the Information Age, and now we don't know, but really seems that we are having another shift right this moment towards some returns or some added disconnect from our deep, so for some, from some very significant and crucial dimensions of what really means to be human. And so we are purpose driven thinking right now, and we are thinking, okay, let me see if I get it, Julie. And of course, please put your comments, your questions, your remarks here, and I will have my pleasure to answer those, because that's how we made this even better. But like I was saying, Julie, okay, but that's under the gathering. But what in terms of habits, of our habits now, of our relationship with life? How can we reflect? But aren't you a vegetarian? The hunter, he killed the animals or the beasts or whatever. Well, I'm just, I can recall a book right now, a book that I wrote, that I've read in Portuguese, A Fala do Índio. I don't recall the specific title in English. Translates from Portuguese direct translation to English is something like the Indian speaking, or the Indian speech, or the Indian talk. I don't know, but that book really translates many of those hunting, gathering type of perspectives and behaviors in society. It was a book about the Native American people and the ways in which they live in deep bonding and sharing with Mother Nature. And it really was beautiful in the sense of seeing how they really, of course they had problems, of course they had issues, of course they had, but I was thinking about the relational type of purpose-driven understanding that really can only arise in the context with one another, in us sensing the differences between us and the other. We can better see ourselves as we are, because by context we learn a lot. And if we can have the context taking space into a healthy environment, an environment when the differences all gather around the fire at the end of the night, telling stories about what happened in the day, things that did not so well, maybe talking to some wiser older people, taking some doubts about who has the right, who made it the right way or the wrong way, and then here comes the sage and talks with the people and resolving things right up their moment without their regretting or resenting and accumulating stuff. And what about telling stories, making games around the fire? And yes, now I'm going somewhat hippie, somewhat hippie here, yes. Because of course our society now, it really seems like we are making ourselves ready for a joke. If we talk about sitting around the fire camp, because the fireplace today we talk it as a fire camp, like in a scouting sense. That is something that we must organize outside our usual lives, but in that sense it was not. It was the sense of community beyond the virtual social networks that we have. They had social networks. The proper name really is social media, because really is a media more than a network, a real grassroots network, but people driven, operates in a very different term than the current social networks in terms of virtuality. And this is it. This is it. The main things is that we trust in the divine, we trust in life, we trust in nature in terms of hunting. We have a sacred relationship with the things that we hunt. Yes, even the animals we may kill, but we do it in those societies. We do it with reverence. We do it with respect for the spirit of the animal, or even the beast, if we believe that was the beast, because the Native American Indians, they believe that the spirit of the animal was embedded into them after they take him, and there was even some beautiful works of art expressing the symbiotic relationship between the hunter and the prey. And it was like a love relationship in the sense of the prey was acknowledged as sacred because the prey belonged to a realm of communion with other animals that were not seen as human individuals, but in aggregate. They were all part of the Mother Gaia's ability to feed her children, human children, and all of her children, creation children. And killing a prey was not taken in lightlier, mundane type of terms. That was not the killing of a murderer, was the killing of a warrior, of people with honor for the sacredness of the moment. And this is not possible in the society that we have, at least not at the traditional way of going to the shopping mall and grab the beef, put it in the counter, bring your card or your cash and take it home. At least not in the ritualistic type of behavior. Unless we make it so, and it's possible if we make it so, if we have an act of gratitude for picking up that meat. And this, I know this may seem strange for many people, but okay, it's just a different idea for you to consider. If you pick that very same meat, and if you feel grateful for having that meat, beyond the exploration of animals, that I believe it's really true, that the ethical side of eating meat in a society like this, we can go beyond that in a small sense, or in a I don't know the dimension of the sense. It really depends on many factors that are beyond my understanding right now. The source of the food, the way it is conveyed onto us, all the transportation footprint on the earth, and all the justice or injustice to the small farms, to the ecosystem, to the small businesses, local communities, local economies, whatever. It's too much factors for us to consider, but make it very simple. Just a simple act of feeling grateful, really grateful, of thanksgiving, yes, not just one day at the year, for that food that is coming to our possession or our plate, really can change many things beyond our rational thought processes type of understanding. I really believe so. So I'm sharing this perspective of the hunting gathering in order to really stress this dimension of dancing with collecting, and at the same time enjoying the fruits of what we have, feeling grateful for what you have, even if we are having some troubles right this time, because we can, and we have, many of us. And then we can think in the sharing dimensions of it. In the sharing, what do I have that I can share? In what ways does the universe pours his or her abundance onto me? What can I give to others that represents me to the very best of my ability in that very same moment? What can I do that puts that even more forth? What should I do that is in my reach right now to access more of those ways? And will I do it? Will I book it in my agenda? Will I make it happen? Will I commit myself to the deliberate practice of doing so every single day? Well, if we live in the hunting gathering mindset, for sure we must, because we don't accumulate, we don't make reservations. Well, we don't have internal fridges to store what we collect or hunt. They don't last long. We live in the redemptive type of living. We trust in the life's ability to bring us what we need, one step after the other. We really go forth every single day, like the biblical myth of Moses and Judaic people. They went into the desert and they had their manna every single day without the opportunity to accumulate and saving it for the next day. And so they went, and they were warned. They were warned. And if we have the disposition to put that perspective, at least in front of our eyes, just to see its merits, okay, I don't need to take it as such, as the all-pervasive way of dealing with life. Of course not. But can we sense the merits of this? Can we harvest some of the fruits? Maybe we can. Maybe we can. Maybe we can. Maybe if we are in explorative discovery mode, and then we need to hunt for the clues of our purpose, the leads of our own authenticity. Now I'm seeing your comment. Julieta, I'm seeing your comment. There are so many hidden dark ways of meat production. 14 years meat free for that exact reason. I'm on 100% in accordance with that, because I don't eat meat. So hunting for talent also. Yes, I'm not 14 years meat free. I'm just 7 years meat free. 8 years meat free. Hunting for talent and inspiration that I can share around me in the hope of bringing more of a desired reality in the places I live in. Collecting inner energy to share. Hopefully makes sense. Of course it makes sense, and I believe you know it. Yes, it makes total sense. That's the thing. The thing of hunting is like hunting in the sense of discovering, of finding, of searching, of investigating. And then the gathering in the sense of reunion with others and sharing what we have, listening to others, real engagement, real communication, real ability to go forth and expect the other to do the same, to have that reciprocity and mutuality, and of course taking the chances of being mistaken, taking the chances of being even somewhat mistreated, or even going forth to some other undesirable, still in manifest human traits, like treason, like not being able to fully trust that the other people are going to do what we think it is to be done or ought to be done. and even things that they gave their word they will do. But even beyond that, those we can still access the deeper sense, the deeper feeling, the deeper trust in life that no matter if the A person or B person or C person does this or that, I'll be able, life allows, I'll be able to deal with whatever comes my way. And I will take it to the very best of my ability to live the life in the terms that I find are right for me. To really create the type of life and world that I want to see around me, like Mr. Mahatma Gandhi said, and Mr. Martin Luther King, and so many other inspiring people. Yes, we are humans, we have faulty behaviors, faulty ideas sometimes, many times, because faulty behaviors are consequences of faulty ideas still. So, and that's the thing. We are able to do better with what we have. We are better served by a shift in paradigm from the scarcity mindset, from the abundance mindset, and even more than just acknowledging it and trying to live it in this or that scenario or this or that circumstance. I really believe that us people that are compromised, that are committed, better said, to really create a new life and hopefully a better world, we must develop systemic, global, worldview type of ability to deal with our own life issues. And so we must prepare ourselves, we must learn, fully respecting our own inclinations and our own abilities to do so, the types of intelligences that ask us and call us to one path or the other, for sure. But we can do it ever more with a sense of wholeness, in terms of totality, in terms of sacredness, in terms of interdependence, in terms of systemic awareness. And then we are much more able to make a difference and to really stand for our own rights and the rights of the ones we love. My dear friends, especially you, Julieta, once more, the Totalista. If you don't have any other questions today, we are going to stop. The idea really was to stress, or not to stress, but to reinforce, because stress it's not opposite to this perspective. What really makes us ever more humans beyond our own usual thought processes, perspectives, and awareness, including in the personal development space. Tomorrow I will bring somewhat different or not transmission. The title is more evolved as such, and then I will take the weekend to reflect about what is being happening. I will have another project also taking place that will occupy many of my time, and then Monday we will return with another set of lives. But tomorrow, the 360 Purpose Idealist Realist Manifesto. It's the title of tomorrow's live. So, have a wonderful rest of the evening. Take good care of yourself. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.